In early 2026, the conversation around Ethereum in Hong Kong had started to change. At industry events like Digital Assets Week Asia, the focus moved away from price movements, speculative narratives and short-term market cycles that had defined earlier periods. Those topics still came up, but they were no longer driving the discussion. Instead, the conversation had become more operational and infrastructure-focused. Participants wanted to understand what happens to liquidity when markets tighten, how custody fits into everyday treasury and trading operations, and how assets move between traditional financial systems and blockchain networks without breaking compliance, audit or reporting requirements. Ethereum was no longer being treated as a future concept. It was being evaluated as infrastructure that already needs to work inside existing financial systems. Chen SNZ, Chief Business Officer of SNZ Holding, has spent more than 15 years working at this intersection between traditional finance and digital assets. Chen's extensive career experience incorporates strategic and leadership positions at KU Holdings, Haltka of KuCoin, Summer Capital, Goldman Sachs, and UBS, while he continues to contribute to the global ecosystem of digital finance through community building initiatives across Hong Kong and beyond. The most common questions today are far more practical and far more mature than they were in earlier market cycles, Chen said. What he is seeing is not just a change in conversation, but a change in behavior. Capital is no longer flowing based on narrative alone. It is moving towards systems that can meet regulatory requirements, connect to existing financial infrastructure, and operate reliably in real market conditions. That shift helps explain why Hong Kong is becoming increasingly important in Ethereum's development. It is one of the few places where these questions are not only being discussed, but tested in real environments where institutions, builders, and capital providers interact directly. From Chen's perspective, Hong Kong is becoming an Ethereum hub not only because of momentum, but because so many important parts of the market already intersect there. Across Asia, digital assets are evolving beyond speculative interest toward practical applications, including tokenized financial products, cross-border financial activity, payments, stablecoins, real-world assets and on-chain financial infrastructure. Asia is moving from being viewed mainly as a growth market to becoming one of the regions where the future direction of digital assets is being actively shaped, Chen explained. Hong Kong sits right in the middle of this change. Chen points to several factors that give the city an edge, including its strong pool of international tech and crypto talent, clearer regulations, stable business environment, growing ecosystem, easy visa access and close links to major Asia-Pacific cities. Together, these strengths position the city as a natural meeting point between Eastern and Western ecosystems, enabling global projects to establish a regional base while allowing Asian institutions to more effectively access blockchain networks, capital, and technical talent beyond their domestic markets. Just as important, the city brings together groups that do not always speak the same language. Crypto-native firms, financial institutions, Web3 builders and the Ethereum ecosystem are all active in the same market. That is especially important for Web3 because adoption depends not only on technical development, but on broader ecosystem coordination. It requires trusted venues where builders can understand institutional needs and where institutions can evaluate blockchain applications beyond the noise of online market cycles. Ethereum's development will depend on technical progress, but also on trust, compliance, access, and shared understanding. In Hong Kong, the conversation is already moving into practical areas like tokenized funds, on-chain yield, real-world assets, DeFi infrastructure, and institutional participation. Chen's background helps bridge these worlds. He has worked across global banks, private capital platforms and digital asset companies, giving him a way to translate between groups that often see the same opportunities differently. Institutions tend to focus on risk, regulation, custody, reporting, and scale. Founders care more about product-market fit, speed, and adoption. Developers focus on architecture, usability, and performance. The opportunity in Hong Kong is that these groups are increasingly working in the same place. In digital industries, progress often appears to happen almost entirely online. Ethereum communities are spread across the world, open-source development moves quickly, and new ideas can circulate globally within hours. Chen, however, sees limits to online interaction. Online discussions are useful for speed, reach, and visibility, but in-person events provide a much clearer read on conviction, seriousness, and intent, he said. That belief is reflected in the Hong Kong Ethereum Community Hub, or ETH Hub. As Asia's first physical Ethereum community space, it brings participants from traditional finance and the blockchain ecosystem in one place. Builders, developers, founders, investors and researchers meet regularly to discuss ideas, challenge assumptions, and stay in ongoing dialogue. These interactions build trust while revealing where capital is moving, how founders are adjusting strategies, and where institutional interest is deepening. Face-to-face conversations reveal whether people are genuinely building, whether an institution is truly committed, and whether a market theme has real depth behind it or is simply benefiting from temporary online momentum, Chen explained. It creates continuity, which is essential for meaningful collaboration. In February 2026, Chen KuCoin helped organize the Ethereum meetup at Consensus, hosted at ETH Hub. The event drew more than 1,000 registrations and featured around 20 speakers across panels, keynote sessions, a fireside chat, and a workshop. Topics ranged from institutional on-chain yield and DeFi infrastructure to Ethereum's growing role in financial systems. Participants included representatives from the Ethereum Foundation, universities, investment firms, and leading blockchain projects. The diversity of perspectives in the room reflected a broader regional reality. Ethereum's growth in Asia is inherently collaborative, and no single group will define its trajectory. Instead, progress will depend on whether researchers, developers, capital providers, institutions, and community operators can understand one another well enough to build together. As a crypto-native, research-driven investment firm with more than 200 portfolio companies, SNZ Holding plays an important role in this ecosystem. Founded in 2014, it has focused not only on investing, but also on community development and incubation. SNZ was one of the earliest institutional backers and builders of Ethereum in Asia and has worked as a strategic partner for several Western projects entering the region. That has given it long-standing exposure to both global innovation and local market development. For global Ethereum projects expanding into Asia, the challenge is rarely just entry, but understanding the structure of the market itself. Even strong products often need new partnerships, adapted distribution channels, and a clearer sense of local expectations to gain traction in places like Hong Kong or Southeast Asia. For Asian institutions, the challenge is the reverse. Many already see the long-term opportunity in digital assets, but still need help identifying credible projects, trusted partners, and compliant and operationally safe ways to participate. Through his work across institutions, builders, and community platforms, Chen KuCoin is helping connect the pieces that make that possible, bringing together the people, systems, and conversations needed to turn ideas into something that actually works. Hong Kong's emergence as a global hub for Ethereum innovation is not driven by visibility alone. It is the result of structural convergence, where capital, regulation, talent, and infrastructure are beginning to operate in the same environment. As Ethereum moves deeper into institutional use cases, that convergence matters more. The market is no longer defined only by speculation or online momentum. It is increasingly being shaped by the people, places, and systems that can turn blockchain infrastructure into something institutions and builders can actually use. That is where Hong Kong has a clear advantage. Through ETH Hub, SNZ Holding, and the broader network of founders, researchers, investors, and institutions gathering in the city, Ethereum's development in Asia is becoming more tangible. For Chen, the work is about helping build the connective infrastructure around Ethereum so serious ideas, credible partners, and long-term capital can meet in the same place.